The deep space research vessel Horizon drifted silently through the void, its sensors probing the darkness of uncharted space. Dr. Sarah Chen stood at the observation deck, her dark eyes fixed on the mysterious structure that had brought their expedition to an abrupt halt. The massive crystalline archive floated before them, its surface refracting starlight in mesmerizing patterns. "I've never seen anything like it," she whispered, more to herself than to Captain Marcus Rodriguez, who stood beside her. The structure's architecture defied human engineering principles, its geometric patterns shifting in ways that shouldn't be possible according to their understanding of physics. "Analysis confirms it's artificial," Rodriguez replied, his weathered face illuminated by the soft blue glow of nearby holographic displays. "And old. Really old. The dating puts it at roughly 50,000 years." Sarah's hand instinctively touched the neural interface at the base of her skull, standard equipment for xenorchaeologists these days. The device had already begun processing the initial scans, but the sheer volume of data was overwhelming. This wasn't just another alien relic. This was something far more significant. The ship's AI, interrupted their contemplation. "Dr. Chen, I've detected what appears to be an active power signature within the structure. It's faint, but it matches no known energy patterns in our database." Sarah straightened, her heart racing. "An active power source after 50,000 years. That's impossible." "Impossible for us, maybe," Rodriguez mused, stroking his salt and pepper beard. "But we're not dealing with human technology here." The discovery had already caused a stir among the Horizon's 100-person crew. They were supposed to be mapping gravitational anomalies in this sector, not stumbling upon what could be the most significant archaeological find in human history. The UN Space Exploration Commission would have a field day with this one. "Captain," Araya's calm voice carried a note of urgency. "I'm detecting a signal emanating from the structure. It appears to be responding to our presence." The crystalline archive's surface began to pulse with a soft, rhythmic light. Patterns of illumination danced across its faceted exterior, creating what looked almost like writing, but in no language any human had ever encountered. "Sarah," Rodriguez's voice was tense, "tell me this is normal for alien artifacts." Before she could respond, a beam of light shot from the structure, scanning the horizon from bow to stern. Sarah's neural interface buzzed with incoming data, making her wince. The ship's systems flickered momentarily, and then stabilized. "ARIA, report," Rodriguez barked. "All systems functional, Captain. The scan appears to have been a recognition protocol. I'm receiving data. It's extraordinary. This structure appears to be what I can only describe as a library." Sarah's interface was already beginning to translate portions of the incoming data stream. Her eyes widened as the first coherent pieces fell into place. "Captain, this isn't just a library. It's an archive. The last testament of an entire civilization. They called themselves the Luminary." The holographic displays around them erupted with images. Cities that seemed to be made of living crystal, beings of pure energy walking among structures that defied gravity, technological achievements that made humanity's greatest accomplishments look like child's play. They were beautiful, Sarah breathed, watching as the history of an alien civilization played out before her. But something happened to them. Something catastrophic. The images shifted, showing darkness spreading across vast star systems, entire worlds going dark. The Luminary had faced something they couldn't defeat. Instead of accepting extinction, they had created this archive, preserving their knowledge, their history, their very essence. "Captain," ARIA interrupted, "I'm detecting additional archives. This isn't the only one. There's a network of them, spread across this sector of space. This was deliberate. They didn't want their civilization to be forgotten." Rodriguez's expression hardened with determination. "They won't be. Sarah, compile everything we have. I'm calling an emergency meeting with the crew. Whatever happened to the Luminary, whatever they faced, we need to understand it. They left this here for someone to find and wear it. Sarah nodded, her mind already racing with the implications. The luminary hadn't just left their history behind, they had left a warning. As more data poured through her neural interface, she began to understand the magnitude of what they'd discovered. This wasn't just about preserving the memory of a lost civilization. It was about preventing their fate from befalling others. "There's something else," she said quietly, examining a particular sequence of data. "The archive. It's not just storing information. It's storing something else. Something alive." Rodriguez turned to her sharply. Alive. After 50,000 years. The luminary found a way to preserve consciousness itself, to store it in these crystalline structures. There could be actual luminary minds in here, waiting to be awakened. The implications were staggering. This wasn't just first contact. This was a rescue mission 50,000 years in the making. Humanity had just inherited the legacy of an ancient civilization, and with it, the responsibility to understand what had destroyed them. As the horizon maintained its position near the archive, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched, evaluated. The luminary had waited millennia for someone to find them. Now that humanity had, the real question was, were they ready for what came next? 3 weeks had passed since the Horizon's discovery of the luminary archive, and the ship's research bay had transformed into a hub of feverish activity. Holographic displays flickered with endless streams of alien data, while teams of scientists worked around the clock to process the information. Dr. Sarah Chen hadn't slept properly in days, her neural interface continuously processing the archive's vast knowledge. "You need to rest," Captain Rodriguez said, placing a cup of coffee beside her workstation. "You're no good to anyone if you burn out." Sarah shook her head, her eyes never leaving the complex equations floating before her. "I can't. Not now. We're close to understanding something crucial about their technology. The way they manipulated quantum fields, it's beyond anything we've theorized possible." The archive had revealed that the luminary hadn't just been advanced. They had fundamentally understood the universe in ways that human science was only beginning to grasp. Their civilization had achieved what humans would consider godlike capabilities, but it had come at a terrible price. "Dr. Chen," Araya's voice interrupted, "I've completed the analysis of the consciousness preservation data. The results are troubling." Sarah straightened in her chair as new information filled her display. The luminary hadn't just stored information in the archives. They had found a way to transfer consciousness itself into quantum matrices within the crystalline structures. But the process wasn't perfect. "They were desperate," Sarah murmured, reading through the data. "Whatever they were running from, it forced them to make impossible choices. The consciousness transfer process, it was experimental. They knew it might fail." Rodriguez leaned in, studying the displays. "How many minds are we talking about?" "Thousands, maybe more, but they're fragmenting. The quantum matrices are breaking down. If we don't find a way to stabilize them soon, we'll lose them forever." The ship's chief engineer, Dr. James Harper, joined them, his dark skin gleaming with sweat from working in the engine room. "That's not our only problem. Whatever the luminary we're running from, it left traces. We're picking up energy signatures that match their records of the entity they encountered." Sarah's blood ran cold. The archives had shown glimpses of the force that had destroyed the luminary, a cosmic horror they had accidentally awakened during their experiments with quantum field manipulation. They had called it the void resonance, a consciousness that existed in the space between realities. "How far?" Rodriguez demanded. "The nearest signature is several light-years away, but it's moving. The patterns suggest it's following the same paths the luminary used to scatter their archives." Sarah stood, her exhaustion forgotten. "We need to wake them. Now. Before it's too late." "Wake them?" Rodriguez's voice was sharp with concern. "Sarah, we barely understand their technology. The risks are nothing compared to letting an entire civilization die." She interrupted. "We have their research. We have their data. With Araya's help, We can adapt their consciousness transfer technology to modern systems. The captain was quiet for a long moment, weighing the implications. The UN Space Commission had ordered them to study the archive, but take no direct action without authorization. But authorization would take weeks, maybe months. Time they didn't have. If we do this, he said slowly, there's no going back. We'll be committing humanity to whatever fight the luminary we're running from. Sarah met his gaze steadily. Maybe that's exactly why we found them. They left these archives hoping someone would understand, someone would help. We can't just walk away. Harper nodded, already pulling up engineering schematics. We'll need to modify our quantum processors, create a stable environment for the transfer. It's possible, but it'll push our systems to their limits. Do it, Rodriguez ordered, his decision made. But we do this carefully. We wake one consciousness first, learn what we can. Sarah, you'll be our primary contact. The next 48 hours were a blur of activity. Harper's engineering team worked miracles, modifying the ship's systems to accommodate the alien consciousness transfer protocols. Sarah's neural interface was updated with new protocols, preparing her to communicate directly with the awakened luminary mind. As the team made their final preparations, Sarah stood before the modified quantum chamber they had constructed. Inside, a small crystal fragment from the archive pulsed with a soft, blue-white light, containing within it the preserved consciousness of a being that had lived 50,000 years ago. Transfer protocols ready, Araya announced. Quantum field stabilized, awaiting final authorization. Rodriguez looked at each member of his team, reading the determination in their faces. They all understood the stakes. This wasn't just about saving a lost civilization. It was about facing whatever horror had driven them to such desperate measures. Begin transfer, he ordered. The chamber hummed to life, energy coursing through carefully calibrated circuits. Sarah's neural interface tingled as it prepared to receive the alien consciousness. The crystal fragment began to pulse more rapidly, its light growing intense. Then, suddenly, everything changed. The light from the crystal exploded outward, filling the chamber with brilliant radiance. Sarah's neural interface burned with input as the luminary consciousness made contact for the first time in 50,000 years. In that moment, as alien thoughts merged with human technology, Sarah understood the true magnitude of what they had undertaken. The luminary weren't just refugees from the past. They were harbingers of a war humanity had just inherited. And somewhere in the darkness between the stars, an ancient enemy was stirring, drawn to the awakening of its long-lost prey. The first contact with the luminary consciousness was nothing like Sarah had expected. Through her neural interface, she experienced not just thoughts and memories, but entire conceptual frameworks that challenged her understanding of reality. The being called itself Action, and it had been a quantum physicist before the fall of their civilization. Your adaptation of our transfer protocols is impressive. Action's thoughts resonated through the ship's modified systems. The alien consciousness manifested as a shimmering pattern of light in the quantum chamber, its presence both beautiful and unsettling. Though time grows short, Captain Rodriguez stood firm, his hands clasped behind his back. Tell us what we're facing. What is this void resonance? The light pattern shifted, displaying complex mathematical equations that ARIA quickly began to process. We discovered it during our experiments with quantum field manipulation. We thought we had found a way to transcend the barriers between dimensions, to unlock the fundamental secrets of reality itself. Instead, we awakened something that had slumbered in the spaces between spaces. Sarah's neural interface buzzed with incoming data as Axion shared memories of the catastrophe. She saw vast cities of crystal and light going dark, watched as entire star systems were consumed by what looked like living darkness. The void resonance wasn't just a force. It was a predator that fed on consciousness itself. The archives, Sarah realized, they weren't just meant to preserve your knowledge. They were a trap, a necessary deception. Axion confirmed. We could not defeat the resonance directly, But we could scatter our consciousness across space, forcing it to divide its attention. Each archive it pursues prevents it from fully manifesting in any one location. Dr. Harper, who had been quietly analyzing the data, looked up from his console. The energy signatures we detected, they're getting stronger. The resonance is adapting, learning to track the archives more efficiently. Yes, Axian's response carried a weight of ancient sorrow. Our time of hiding draws to a close, but your arrival, perhaps it was not chance. Your species approaches quantum mechanics differently than we did. Your technology, while less advanced, is built on different principles. Rodriguez's eyes narrowed. What are you suggesting? The void resonance feeds on structured consciousness. The more ordered and advanced a mind becomes, the more it attracts the entity's attention. But human consciousness, it operates with a degree of chaos, of unpredictability that we never achieved in our pursuit of perfection. Sarah's heart raced as she understood the implications. You think we might be able to resist it, to fight back where you couldn't. More than that, Axian's light pattern pulsed with intensity. We believe you might be able to help us develop a defense we never considered. But the risk. Before Axian could finish, alarms blared throughout the ship. Araya's voice carried an unfamiliar note of urgency. Multiple quantum disturbances detected. The nearest energy signature has accelerated dramatically. Impact in approximately 6 hours. It knows we've awakened one of you, Sarah whispered. Yes, Axian confirmed. And now you face a choice. You can return me to stasis, seal the archive, and flee. The resonance might spare you, might not yet consider humanity a threat. Or we stand and fight. Rodriguez finished. We find a way to save your people and protect ours in the process. The chamber fell silent as the crew contemplated their options. Running might save them temporarily, but the void resonance was growing stronger. Eventually, it would turn its attention to humanity anyway. Their only real choice was to face it now, while they had the knowledge of the luminary to help them. We need to wake the others, Sarah declared. Not all at once. We couldn't handle the power requirements. But we need more knowledge, more perspectives. Harper was already working at his console. I can modify our shield harmonics based on Axian's data. Maybe find a way to disrupt the resonance's approach. The risk is not just to your ship. Axian warned. If we fail, the resonance will gain access to both luminary and human consciousness patterns. It will become stronger than ever. Rodriguez squared his shoulders, his decision made. Humanity didn't reach the stars by running from challenges. We survive by facing them, by finding solutions where others see only problems. Dr. Chen, begin waking the other consciousnesses. Dr. Harper, get those shields modified. Araya, calculate possible escape vectors, but also analyze every scrap of data we have on the resonance's energy patterns. We're not just fighting for the luminary anymore. We're fighting for every conscious being in this galaxy. As the crew rushed to their stations, Sarah felt a strange mix of terror and exhilaration. Through her neural interface, she sensed Axian's surprise at humanity's resolve. The luminary had hidden for 50,000 years, scattered their consciousness across the stars rather than face extinction. But humans had a different approach to impossible situations. You truly believe you can succeed where we failed? Axian asked privately through their connection. Sarah allowed herself a small smile as she began the awakening sequences for the next consciousness. We believe we have to try. That's what makes us human. In the void of space around them, stars seemed to flicker as reality itself prepared for the coming confrontation. 6 hours to prepare for an encounter with a force that had destroyed one of the most advanced civilizations in history. 6 hours to prove that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in their technology or their intelligence, but in their unflinching determination to face the impossible. Time seemed to compress as the Horizon's crew raced against the approaching void resonance. They had awakened 3 more luminary consciousnesses. Nexus, a quantum engineer; Helix, a theoretical physicist; and Cipher, an expert in consciousness transfer technology. The ship's quantum chamber now pulsed with their combined presence, creating patterns of light that danced across the walls like aurora. "The shield modifications are holding," Harper reported from his station, his voice hoarse from hours of non-stop work. "But these energy readings, they're like nothing we've ever seen." Sarah's neural interface buzzed constantly now as she coordinated between the luminary minds and the human crew. The ancient beings' thoughts moved at incredible speeds, processing solutions and discarding them just as quickly. Through their shared connection, she felt their growing respect for humanity's adaptability. "Your chaos is your strength," Nexus observed, its consciousness pattern shifting like quicksilver. "Where we sought perfect order, you embrace uncertainty. It makes you resilient." "Less predictable," Cipher added. "The resonance feeds on patterns. Your minds, they don't follow the same rigid structures ours did." Captain Rodriguez paced the command center, studying the holographic displays showing the approaching disturbance. "That's all well and good, but we need more than theory right now. We need a way to fight back." "Perhaps," Helix's thoughts rippled through the interface, "we've been approaching this wrong. We tried to fight the resonance with pure energy, with perfect quantum harmonies. But what if the key isn't perfection?" Sarah's eyes widened as she caught the implication. "You're talking about intentionally introducing chaos into the quantum field." "Precisely." Axion joined in. "Your shift shields, they're not as advanced as our technology was, but they're more adaptable. They fluctuate naturally." Harper straightened at his console. "We could modify the shield harmonics to match human brainwave patterns, create a quantum field that mimics the chaos of human consciousness." "It would be like trying to grab smoke," Sarah said, excitement building. "The resonance feeds on structured patterns, but if we could make our defenses as unpredictable as human thought." Araya's voice cut through their discussion. "Energy surge detected. The resonance has accelerated. New estimated time to impact, 30 minutes." The announcement sent the crew into even more frenzied activity. Harper's engineering team began the shield modifications while Sarah and the luminary consciousnesses worked to integrate their quantum knowledge with human neural patterns. "There's something else we haven't considered," Sarah said suddenly. "An idea forming. The archives. You scattered them across space to divide the resonance's attention. What if we could use them as a network?" "To do what?" Rodriguez asked. "To amplify our shield pattern. If we can establish a quantum link with even a few of the other archives, we could create a much larger field of chaos. Force the resonance to deal with multiple points of unpredictability at once." The luminary consciousnesses pulsed with renewed energy. "It's possible," Cipher acknowledged. "Dangerous, but possible. We would need to wake more of our people in the other archives, which would draw more of the resonance's attention," Harper warned. "Or divide it further," Sarah countered. "Make it impossible for it to focus its full strength anywhere." Rodriguez studied the tactical displays, watching as the void between stars seemed to darken. They were out of time for perfect solutions. "Do it. Wake as many as you can reach. Harper, get those shield modifications online. Everyone else, prepare for impact." The next 20 minutes were a blur of activity. Through her neural interface, Sarah helped coordinate the awakening of dozens of luminary consciousnesses in nearby archives. Each awakening sent pulses of energy through space, creating a web of quantum connections. The horizon's shields began to pulse with an eerily beautiful light, their patterns shifting randomly based on the combined chaos of human and luminary thought. 10 minutes to impact," Araya announced. "The resonance, it's changing course, splitting into multiple vectors. It's working." Sarah breathed. "It can't decide where to focus its attack." Through the ship's viewports, they could see it now. A darkness deeper than the void of space, moving like living shadow between the stars. But instead of a single massive presence, it was fragmenting, trying to address multiple threats at once. "The shield network is stable," Harper reported, "but these power readings are off the charts. We can't maintain this indefinitely. We don't have to. Axian's thoughts rang with determination. We just have to prove that we can hurt it. Show it that the combined strength of humanity and the luminary is too costly to face. The darkness was almost upon them now, tendrils of void reaching toward the ship like hungry fingers. But where they touched the chaotic shield pattern, they seemed to recoil, unable to find purchase on the constantly shifting quantum field. "This is it," Rodriguez announced to his crew. "Whatever happens next, remember, we're making history." Two civilizations, separated by 50,000 years, standing together against the impossible. Sarah's neural interface burned with the combined consciousness of humans and luminary, all focused on a single purpose. As the void resonance made its final approach, she felt something she hadn't expected. Hope. Not just for survival, but for something greater, the birth of a partnership that could reshape the galaxy's future. The darkness engulfed them, and the real battle began. The void surrounding the horizon erupted into a battle unlike anything in human history. Tendrils of living darkness crashed against the ship's modified shields, seeking patterns to exploit, weaknesses to penetrate. But the chaotic quantum field, powered by the combined consciousness of humans and luminary, refused to yield. Shield integrity at 60%, Araya reported, her voice steady despite the strain on her systems. "The quantum network is holding, but power consumption is critical." Through her neural interface, Sarah felt the combined effort of dozens of luminary consciousnesses, their ancient knowledge merging with human intuition to create something entirely new. The darkness of the void resonance seemed to writhe in frustration as it encountered defense patterns it couldn't predict or consume. Multiple impacts detected across the archive network. Harper called out, his fingers flying across his console. "The other sites are under attack, but they're holding. The resonance can't focus its full strength anywhere." Captain Rodriguez gripped his command chair as the ship shuddered under another assault. "Sarah, what are the luminary saying? Can we push it back?" Before she could answer, Axian's consciousness surged through the interface. "We're seeing something unprecedented. The resonance, it's showing signs of confusion. For the first time in our history, it cannot simply absorb and adapt. Because it can't predict us," Sarah realized. The combination of human chaos and luminary precision, it's creating patterns too complex for it to process. Through the viewports, they could see the darkness beginning to fragment further, spreading itself thinner as it tried to combat threats it couldn't fully comprehend. The web of awakened archives pulsed with defiant energy, each one protected by shields that mimicked the beautiful unpredictability of human thought. "We need to press our advantage." Helix's thoughts rang through the network. The resonance has never retreated before, but now it's showing signs of weakness. "How?" Rodriguez demanded. "Our power reserves are almost depleted." Sarah's mind raced, processing input from both human and luminary sources. Then it hit her. The quantum network, we can use it to create a feedback loop. Turn the resonance's own energy against it. "Impossible," Cipher objected. "The power requirements would be massive," Harper interrupted, already making calculations. "But what if we didn't need to generate new energy? What if we could reflect what it's already using against us?" The luminary consciousnesses pulsed with sudden understanding. They had never considered such an approach. Their pursuit of perfection had blinded them to simpler solutions. But humans, with their capacity for lateral thinking, saw possibilities where they had seen only limitations. "Araya," Rodriguez commanded, "divert all non-essential power to the shields. Engineering, prepare for maximum power transfer. Sarah, coordinate with the archive network. Everyone else, hold on tight." The ship's lights dimmed as power was redirected. Sarah's neural interface burned as she helped synchronize the quantum network, linking dozens of archives into a single unified defense. The void resonance's attacks intensified, as if sensing their intention. "Now," Sarah shouted. Harper triggered the modified shields. Instead of simply absorbing or deflecting the resonance's energy, they began to capture and redirect it, creating a cascading effect through the quantum network. Each archive amplified the feedback, turning the entity's own power into a weapon against it. The result was spectacular. The darkness surrounding them began to collapse in on itself, unable to maintain coherence as its energy was turned back upon its own consciousness. Through the neural interface, Sarah felt the luminaries' astonishment as their ancient enemy began to retreat. "It's running," Axion announced, their consciousness pattern bright with triumph. "For the first time in our history, the resonance is fleeing." The void around them began to clear, stars becoming visible once more. The quantum network pulsed with victory, hundreds of consciousnesses, human and luminary alike, united in celebration. "Damage report," Rodriguez called out, though he couldn't keep the smile from his face. "Shields at 20%, power reserves critical," AIA reported. "But all essential systems are functional. The archive network is stable." Sarah slumped in her chair, physically and mentally exhausted. Through her neural interface, she felt the luminaries' profound gratitude and something else: hope. After 50,000 years of hiding, they had found not just allies, but equals who approached problems in ways they never imagined. "What happens now?" Rodriguez asked the assembled consciousnesses. "Now," Axion responded, "we rebuild. Your species has proven itself beyond anything we could have hoped for. The archives were meant to preserve our knowledge, but they've given us something far greater, a future. We'll need to establish more permanent facilities," Harper said, already thinking ahead. "Find ways to transfer the consciousnesses into more stable matrices, maybe even develop new physical forms for them. A project that will require both human innovation and luminary knowledge," Helix agreed. "A true merger of our civilizations." Sarah smiled as she watched human crew members and luminary consciousnesses already beginning to plan for the future. The archive hadn't just been a repository of knowledge or a trap for an ancient enemy. It had been a bridge across time itself, connecting two civilizations that each had something the other needed. "You know," she said to no one in particular, 50,000 years ago, the luminary thought they were facing the end. Instead, they were just waiting for a new beginning. Outside the horizon, the stars seemed to shine brighter, as if celebrating the dawn of a new era. Humanity had reached into the past and found not just knowledge or technology, but partners in shaping the galaxy's future. The void resonance had taught both civilizations an invaluable lesson. True strength lies not in perfection or chaos alone, but in the beautiful uncertainty that comes from working together. As rescue ships began arriving from Earth, drawn by the horizon's emergency signals, Sarah knew they would have quite a story to tell. But more than that, they had a future to build, one that would combine the best of both civilizations. The archives had preserved the past, but humanity's determination had given it new life, proving once again that no challenge was too great when faced with courage, creativity, and the willingness to reach across the stars to help those in need.